33 million unemployed people isn't enough to justify opening the economy, but one lost job, yours, is enough to justify keeping it closed? This strikes me as an ironic and hypocritical concern. After all, if you're pro-lockdown, if you're in favor of continuing the lockdown, then you believe that 33 million lost jobs is a price worth paying. I mean, you'll forgive me if I treat your financial situation as superfluous, considering you've done that to everybody else in the country. Today on the Matt Walsh Show, the media claims that many Americans still don't want to leave their homes and get back to their lives. They want to stay barricaded in their homes. They're not ready to be done with the lockdown yet. If that's true, fine. And that's why I propose that everybody who wants to get back to work and back to their lives can do so. And if you want to stay home, you can. I think that's the path forward. It's an easy solution. What's the problem? For most of us, the risk of returning to our jobs and our lives is very low. The virus primarily victimizes the old and the infirm, which is why it has had a hugely disproportionate impact on nursing homes. When you add the elderly who are not in nursing homes, and then you also add in people with pre-existing conditions, it becomes evident that young and healthy people are very unlikely to die from this disease or to be hospitalized because of it. Now, that doesn't mean that we should cavalierly throw aside all precautions and safety measures and just throw it all to the wind and everything. No, that's not what it means. People who want to end the lockdown, most of them, that is not what we are proposing. You could still have plenty of safety measures, plenty of social distancing measures. You can take plenty of reasonable precautions while sort of going about your life. And we should be, and this is the point, we should be allowed to take that risk if we wish. For a culture that supposedly values autonomy and being pro-choice so much, I think this position should be appreciated. The argument is that, well, even if the young and healthy go back to their jobs, if we allow that to happen, we allow them to reclaim their lives, well, the problem is that they might spread it to people who are not in that category. And also, what about even healthy people who don't want to take the risk? What about them? Is it fair that all these people should have the risk foisted on them against their will? And that's where I say, no, it is not fair. But that's not what we're talking about here. Now, the way it is portrayed by the pro-lockdown crowd, you would think that those who oppose the lockdown want to mandate that everybody leave their home. But we are in favor of no such mandate and have not proposed one. This to me seems rather simple. If you want to remain in your home, that's fine. Stay there as long as you like. You need not worry about anyone spreading it to you if you're still hiding behind locked doors. I don't even understand the concern. If you want to stay in lockdown and you're saying you can't leave your home because you're going to spread it to me, how am I going to spread it to you? You're in your home. I'm not breaking in, so you're fine. What's the issue? You should be just as safe after the lockdown ends as you were before it ended because you're still personally staying in your home. No problem. But if you don't want to stay in your home, then you can leave. Only those who choose to take the risk should take it. And there's no reason why I should be prevented from taking the risk just because you don't want to take a risk. You and I are different people. We live in different homes. We don't have to make the same decision. Let me make my choices and you make yours. Now, a common counter argument to this plan, they'll say, well, if many people get back to work and businesses open again, then some of the people who want to stay locked down might be compelled by their employers to come back to their jobs. So maybe there are people who are working from home right now, but if we start opening up again, maybe the employer says you got to come to work or we're going to fire you. Maybe they're furloughed or whatever the case. Whereas before my employer was accommodating it, they might not accommodate it anymore. And then I'm out of a job. Now, this strikes me as an ironic and hypocritical concern, considering the source. After all, if you're pro-lockdown, if you're in favor of continuing the lockdown, then you believe that 33 million lost jobs is a price worth paying. You're afraid you're going to lose your job if the lockdowns end. Well, the lockdowns themselves resulted in 33 million people losing their job. You were okay with that. In fact, you've probably scolded the people worried about losing their jobs for, quote, putting money over human life. So now that you stand to lose your own job, suddenly job loss is a problem. 33 million unemployed people isn't enough to justify opening the economy, but one lost job, yours, is enough to justify keeping it closed? I mean, do you see why this line of reasoning is not particularly endearing or persuasive? I think if someone is in a high-risk category, either because of their health or their age, they should remain home and they should be accommodated. Sending stimulus checks to a much smaller group of people, a targeted smaller group of people, who have to stay home because of their health condition, that I think is much more sustainable, and that's something we could do. The elderly, most of them aren't working anyway, so they should remain quarantined. But the young and healthy ought to be given the option to return to work. If any young and healthy person wants to stay home indefinitely because they're afraid, they're free to make that choice. I don't think we should subsidize that choice. Yes, that's correct. If you're young and healthy, you're not sick, you're not elderly, I don't think you should be forced out of your home, but I do think the lockdowns should end, and I don't think we should subsidize you. I don't think you should get any checks from the government. If you want to stay home indefinitely because you're afraid of germs and viruses, you're free to do that, but you got to figure out how to make that work for yourself. I don't think that it's society's job to make that work for you. We're going to get the economy going. We're going to get society rolling again. If you don't want to be a part of that, fine, but we're not going to pay you. We're not going to pay you to do nothing. But again, these are the people who like to preach about the superfluousness of financial concerns during a time like this. These are the very people who've been saying, how dare you be concerned about finances? All right, well, now I'm saying to you, how dare you be concerned about it? You didn't care about the finances of 33 million people who lost their jobs. Am I supposed to care about yours? I mean, you'll forgive me if I treat your financial situation as superfluous, considering you've done that to everybody else in the country. And now it's a problem. Now, if your financial concerns are not superfluous, then you might decide that it's worth it to get back out into the world and take the risk. And that's a decision you should have the power to make. We should all have the power to make. Let everybody figure out their own priorities, their own needs, their own acceptable level of risk. Let them choose which door they're going to walk through and then walk through the door. That's what it means to live in a free country.